All right, so it is the top of the hour, and we are going to go ahead and get started with today's episode. And we are so excited, and I cannot believe it is the last episode of the season. But we are already working on a great season 2 for you guys. It's good news in parks, right? Everybody loves good news in parks. And this is your show where we bring the industry together for sharing. So if you have not signed up for season 2, it isn't automatic, even if you signed up for season 1. So be sure to go to playcore.com/season 2 and sign up. We have 16 amazing episodes that we're already hard at work planning on for you. I'm Anne Marie Spencer, and together with my amazing co-host Jody Adams, we're winding up this season strong with 3 incredible park and recreation directors and a fun little message at the end from a mayor fan of the show from Pawnee, Indiana. So be sure to stay tuned to the end. Jody, what's the good word today?
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. It's the holidays. But I just cannot believe we're on our last show for 2020. But you know what? This 2021 is really taking shape. So we're excited about that. Even our first show that you're going to share later on. First of all, I want to introduce our guests. I'm so honored to have these 3 friends on today. I can just tell you right now, we have the trifecta when it comes to gold medal award-winning directors. And congratulations to you all, because over the years, you've been our leaders and stewards. And thank goodness you came on today. We needed you. Becky Benna. Becky is Executive Director of 5 Rivers Metroparks in Dayton, Ohio. She's a past president of the American Academy of Parks and Recreation Administrators, and she's also a past board member of the NRPA, National Recreation Park Association. Becky, welcome to the show.
Hi, Jody. Thanks for having me. So glad to be here and to spend a little time with everyone that's online.
That's wonderful. Randy Bina. Randy, Executive Director of Bismarck, North Dakota Parks and Recreation District, fellow member, American Academy of Parks and Recreation Administration. He's also a past board member, which Randy, I was so lucky to serve with you, on the board of directors of the NRPA, National Recreation Park Association. Randy, thank you so much for making time today. Welcome to the show.
Well, thanks, Jody. It's great to be here. It's truly an honor for me to be asked by all of you to present with the panel today. Looking forward to it.
Well, and you obviously the chosen one. Thank you for coming on with us as the ladies in Parks and Recreation. So, Susie Kuruvilla. Sorry about that, Susie. I always apologize to Susie because, boy, sometimes I don't get that right. Susie is Executive Director of Gurnee, Illinois Park District, currently serving on the NRPA Board of Directors of National Recreation Park Association. Thank you for doing that, Susie. And also she is a past head judge of the Gold Medal Awards program and did a fabulous job, I have to admit, because I was on there with her as far as a chair of the Gold Medal Awards. So Susie, welcome to the show. Thank you again for joining us.
Thank you, Jody, and thank you, Anne Marie, for inviting me to be on the show, and I'm very much looking forward to it. Thank you to both of you.
You bet. And first of all, I'm going to lead off with a little good news. And here's the deal. You also asked for this information as an audience, and you also wanted some resources. So here you go. We looked and looked over a lot of surveys for the December 4th snapshots with NRPA. We wanted to just give you a little bit of tidbit with this because you were asking about what is open right now. Dog parks at over 90% was surveyed. Dog parks, golf courses, tennis courts, trails, and playgrounds are fully open in our departments right now that were surveyed by NRPA. And this was at the first of the month. Over 50% of the departments are offering childcare, outdoor sports, 5K races, running, walking events, holiday and festival events. And then finally, I want to add farmers markets. And farmers markets are key. I went one the other day and it was very well handled. Here is a key resource for you. Go to farmersmarket.coalition. This coalition has a whole metrics for you to help you with your farmers market. And everything from the COVID administration to data collection to making the case to your local entities. So feel free to use that resource. And then finally, I wanted to also say to you about 2 resources that actually NRPA has on their website right now, and it's all about fighting against substance usage and mental health disorders. So I would definitely go there right now. They're brand new and just coming out. And then also we have the funding resources coming out, and that's from NRPA. They just brought out the new professional guideline for fundraising. And then Playcorps has the Strong Foundations publication on playcorps.com. So they're out there. Definitely go after them and use them at your will. And then we want to say something to Diane Hoover. Diane Hoover was on our first show, and Anne Marie, believe it or not, we knew this, and she had mentioned this to us, but Diane Hoover is retiring next week. And she's been at Bakersfield, City of Bakersfield for 15 years. Here's a stat. She opened 13 parks in 15 years. Unheard of. That is quite a feat. And we all know it, don't we, that are on here. 13 parks she opened while she was there in Bakersfield. Again, many of you might have known her when she was director of Fort Wayne, Indiana, or she was assistant director of Cincinnati Parks and Recreation. So Diane, we wish you good luck. She was on the first panel, and she answered the first question we ever had on this show. So that's a memory and a tidbit.
Congratulations, Diane.
Oh, I know. I'm just so happy for Diane. She so deserves it. And she's also a past NRPA president and past president of the American Academy. So again, congratulations to Diane. Let's start off with our first question, panelists, and here we go. As you reflect and regenerate a meaningful vision moving ahead for your organization, how has your organization changed and what will be different in 2021? Give us the good news and hopefully the outlook ahead. And let's start with Randy on this one.
Okay, thank you, Jody. Our vision, our mission, our core purpose remain the same. However, we've had to adjust how we deliver our services internally and externally during this pandemic. We are connecting electronically more with our staff, our community, and our partners than we ever have. The need for constant and transparent communication has been evident during the pandemic, and I think it's something that will carry forward in beyond 2020. In regards to some of the changes that we've seen in the district, we had a new park opening in the fall, and we did a virtual park dedication instead of having an on-site dedication. And it turned out to be very successful. We created a video with the typical agenda of a dedication, those comments from the developer, our board president, staff, etc., and also recognition of our sponsors of the project. But we were able to take that video, put it on our website, share it on our social media. And the comments that we received from the public were very, very positive. In fact, if you look at the number of people we were able to engage by having a virtual dedication, it was quite significant compared to the number of people that would be on site. So as we move forward in 2021, we might be looking at more virtual dedications, or maybe a hybrid model where we have an on-site dedication and also a video and provide it through electronic means. The other thing, we've done virtual programming throughout the district. And one example, we had a cookies and crafts program that we provided, and that was always on site. This year it went curbside, so people could come up and to the curb and pick up their cookies and crafts. So the other thing with virtual connection, it's been a plus for us for training of our staff. More opportunities for more staff because of the affordability and a variety of professional development opportunities online. And I think that's something we're probably going to take a look at more as we move forward. The pandemic also, it showed us, it almost forced our community to value the safe outdoor options that we have in our system. We've always considered health and wellness a priority, but more and more community members now have a greater understanding and appreciation of the need for outdoor activities for mental and physical health. all of our outdoor recreational facilities remained open during the pandemic, and
Wow.
our usage has been off the charts in terms of trail usage, and we have a number of boat ramps that we are responsible for, so river access. People were looking for things to do and so appreciated the fact that we provided some safe opportunities for them. How does it look in the future? Are we going to continue with virtual and curbside special events, etc.? Something we will look at. I know we had a Halloween party that was postponed in October. We're going to have our Halloween party in April of 2021.
Awesome.
So the other thing I would say is we need to continue to stay relevant and be considered an essential service, which I think we are. This has helped us. We continue to need to address the mental health fallout during the pandemic, and we need to take a look at how Parks and Recreation can play a role in that. The other thing we have to realize is the financial forecast is for a more frugal America, and we need to build trust that our programs and facilities are safe.
You know, Randy, bring up something. People, I think we found such great new ways of communicating with our public that really can't maybe even get out of their house. So that's great that you had such success with your even opening of your park and different things. So again, let's move on. Becky, we're going to go to you.
Sure. Good afternoon. A lot of similar things to what Randy mentioned. I think what I'd like to add is, you know, I think when you have adversity and challenge, it can expose in your organization cracks, and it can expose strengths. And how you respond as an organization, as we all went, in our case, we're in Ohio, and early on, everything was stay-at-home orders, and eventually relaxed. And now we're actually back into a stay-at-home advisory, which is very similar to stay-at-home order. And so, you know, looking at, I think, the strengths of the organization, how people come together, how they've come together in moving, not only in 2020, I see this happening going in 2021, is the creativity that staff continue to come up with new ways to be able to provide service. We too were open, never closed our outdoor facilities. Our trails are incredibly popular. And in that case, there's some good and there's some bad. And that's the cracks where you go, oh my gosh, okay, the crack would be, how do we manage parking lots to make sure that the parks can stay safe for people to use, and get our public empowered to feel like, okay, I can do this and feel okay about it. So the strengths of our teamwork, the way we communicate, like Randy mentioned, the social media, we're doing virtual programming. One of the things that the staff came up with were drive-through pickups for promoting direct, use, you know, on your own, where you're not having to have a program, where we were able to buy kits for gardening or kits for outdoor education, connecting to nature, and people could register and sign up and drive through and pick them up, and they can go do their independent use of their backyard using those kits to connect with nature or plant a garden. And we found gardening has been incredibly popular for people to connect with nature, but also learn how to grow their own food, which I'll talk about later. But I think, you know, it's the being at the table to be a problem solver in the community. I think that will continue. It's, you know, whether it's food insecurity, whether it's mental health. I think moving forward into 2021, I continue to talk with staff about paying attention to our own employees and volunteers' mental health with isolation and not being able to interact. And then also the community, and checking in with the community to provide places for solace and continue to find ways for them to get out in nature and feel safe about it. So those are some of the examples I would use.
You know, Becky, you really hit on it. You know, I want to come to your program, okay? I want to come to your program. It's funny you mentioned this around kids and learning how to plant their own gardens and all this. I mean, what a wonderful education for them in the future, their future life as they grow into adults. But we have to be leaders like that. But boy, creativity, we're hearing every show. It is amazing what's coming out. Susie, let's hear from you.
All right. Well, very similar to what Randy and Becky talked about. I think when I think about it as to what has changed in the department, yeah, we sure have changed. If anything, we have gotten smaller because of the level of programming that we're allowed to do at this point in time, and also the number of staff that we have at this point in time. But becoming smaller has actually made us more mightier. We have gotten even more creative and more powerful, and we have learned how to deal with uncertainty even better. Since we're located in Illinois, we have our own restrictions, and our governor put restrictions in place early on, like in March. So for a little while there, we were completely shut down, even including playgrounds. That was probably one of the hardest things for us. Yeah, it was
Tough.
Then a few weeks later, that was lifted, and then we just accommodated as things changed. So we always made sure that we followed the governor's orders and we stayed within the guidelines. And during this whole time, my team really outshined, and they came up with creative ways to still offer us summer camp during the summer month. That's when the restrictions were at its highest. And, of course, it is very modified and very limited in numbers, but still those parents who needed an outlet for their children had something. And we continue to have preschool athletic programs, dance, martial arts, many virtual programs, e-learning camps. And we also operate a fitness center, all while following these guidelines. So the programs are all modified and at a smaller scale, but we make our existence very well known throughout our community. And it's very challenging going from one phase to the next, one restriction to the next, and then sometimes we're going backwards. But the team came through and did an amazing job, and our community is extremely grateful for our efforts, and they make sure that we are aware of it. And when we look ahead, I am confident that we'll bounce back from this. It may take a few years for us to attain normalcy as we know it, but we'll get there. The park and recreation professionals in general are optimistic and resilient, and those strengths are going to come through. And that's what's going to help us make a comeback. So with the vaccine right around the corner, I believe that when summer comes, when we're at our peak for our programs, people are going to look to Park District for their recreational needs. Travel may not be back to normal as we know it for a little while longer, but local parks, our aquatic facilities, our recreational amenities, that will become the safe haven for our residents. And we are, and we will continue to be the essential part of our community, this everyday life. So, and there are a lot of great things to be learned from this. I never heard of Zoom before. And and it's very functional, right? We gained a lot of knowledge throughout this whole thing, like flexible schedules, working from home, and Zoom meetings. All of that, I think, is going to build up our strength as we go into the future, because we could all of a sudden we learn how to achieve more work-life balance at the same time serving our community at its best. So I think the future is going to look brighter than it was before.
We have heard this over and over from your fellow colleagues. It is going to be brighter than ever. We are learning to bring out the best of our staffs. We're learning to bring the best out of even our communities, and more appreciation than ever. So this elevated us in the essential world. And the other thing is, one thing today, we have park districts on. They have different legislation as far as how your boundaries are actually drawn and what the citizens end up voting on. But really, it comes down to the state legislation and guidance and some of that. And you all are proven to be some of the best park districts in the country. That's one reason we wanted you three together today, because this shows that you may have a park system out there that may eventually want to become a park district. I know that we face that here in Springfield, Greene County. You never know, someday we may. So that'll be another show that we'll address that down the road. But you guys, way to go, because again, we need to hear the future, but it is bright and exciting ahead. What a creative development all of you have been involved with. Question number 2. More than ever, we are seeing diversity and equity policy and community planning being re-examined, and even deeper dive into diversity, equity, inclusive assessments throughout our field with strategies and tools, overall approaches that you are using to continue to address and re-examine your external community, equity, diversity, and inclusion offerings. Now that's a lot, but you know the three major ones that we're focusing on. We're going to start with you, Becky, because you have received, your organization has received and recognized by the Dayton Business Journal 2020 for Outstanding Diversity Champion for your metro area. That is amazing that Parks rose to the top. So we want to start with you, Becky. Hit it, and it's all yours.
Well, thanks, Jody, and I appreciate that. And yes, actually, we're really humbled and honored to be recognized, as it is a business journal.
Yes.
And so as a governmental entity, which we are, even though we're a special park district.
That's right.
We were very, very proud to receive that. And I think for us, this summer even amplified the need to continue to evaluate what we do, how we do it, our services and where we may have service gaps. And it really for us had started a while back in terms of, making sure that we are providing access for all. We're an primarily outdoor focused conservation agency with about 16,000 acres of land. And we service a county, which our service level is about 530,000 folks and who live in it. So very diverse from urban to suburban to rural communities. And so trying to make sure that we are being equitable to our diverse population is really important. So we started 2016, we did a new comprehensive master plan, which involved a very extensive community survey. And the community, so the plan really for the 10 years since 2016 has been focused on what the community told us. And the community, in our analysis, we identified some service gap areas in terms of the amount of green space in a certain part of the county, and also who we're serving. How do we get there? For example, when we talk about inclusiveness, how do we provide access to our trails for someone who might have a mobility issue? So then let's say they ride a bus, they get off at a bus stop. How do they get from the bus stop to the park? Is there a path? Is there a road that they have to get on? So we are looking at all aspects of being accessible to our community. So that has guided us in our 10-year planning and our annual planning that we do with our strategic plan. We also, as part of our strategic plan, updated it several years ago to look at our values of the organization and to live by those values. So such values as diversity is one of our organization values, to make sure that we support differences and be respectful and inclusive. It could be respect, community, how we work together, collaboration, integrity, making decisions honestly and ethically. And so we have them posted throughout our main office. When you walk in, you'll see every single value that's in our organization. We also recently, as though we keep saying, we want to be inclusive, making sure we continue to ask the community, what do you want? Where are we lacking?
That's right.
Go to the community that you're serving. Don't expect them to come to you to tell you what they want. You have to seek them in different ways. And we also, which we didn't have before, is this summer we developed a diversity, equity, and inclusion employee council that has representation from across our organization to work on our own efforts of making sure that we are as inclusive, equitable, and diverse as an organization representing our community as possible. And so we're utilizing a firm or an organization in the community who has expertise in this area, because there's some sensitive conversations that have to happen, as we have seen throughout this year and getting people to feel comfortable about having those sensitive conversations. We have staff at all levels on this council who work in various parts of our organization. They may not know each other. So the very beginning of this is just to start the foundation of getting to know each other, feeling safe about sharing your thoughts, and so that we can build upon that for the rest of the organization to guide us as we provide services to not only our staff and how we hire and where we find folks, as well as the kinds of services and the way we communicate with the rest of our community. So those are some examples we continue to work on. It's an ongoing process that will never end.
You know, Becky, how reflective, but what a discovery moment for your department. I mean, to think that all those people are connecting internally that may never even meet, or, you know, I know that sounds crazy, but when you're this big, that happens. And sometimes you don't even realize somebody's been on for a while. So I could really see how that would really help you. I was fascinated by you creating that committee. So I'm really glad you brought that up. I was reading about that, and that was very interesting. You need to look internally as well as externally. So way to go.
And I would say too, that not everybody's on the same page.
That's right.
And don't expect that they are. When I say everybody, I'm talking about our own employees. And I found that out very early when we started the process. So there's been some epiphanies for me. Not everybody sees things the same. And so really making sure you can't just say we support it. You know, I've always said, you know, if you're going to say something where you support an initiative or a community dealing with a community issue, that you follow through. It's not just saying we support it, but what are the actual things we're going to do, not just in the short term, but in the long run, to make change happen in the culture of our organization and hopefully in the culture of our community.
Fantastic, exceptional. Susie, let's go to you because I know you've worked on this for years, and please address this question.
Well, thank you, Jody. And Becky, I'll be reaching out to you too for some tips as we address it, because we all learn from each other as we go. I think when I think about this topic, I think about the accessibility, the ADA accessibilities, right? I mean, that's one component of it. But there are enough legislation in place to regulate that to a great extent. So when we build parks, that's something that we have to be well aware of. So because the law requires it, so it makes it a little bit easier to get there. So I would say in terms of a lot of those accessibility issues, we're doing a fairly decent job of it. And in terms of accessibility of park system in general, I would say that most of our residents have an easy access to a park because we live in such a community that a lot of new developments have happened, and we were well aware of the need to have the park space and such. So I say we do a fairly decent job of that as well. But when we just step into the equity component, the social justice component, that's where a lot of the focus needs to happen at this point. Not to lose focus on what we already built up, but where does the focus needs to go moving forward? So I believe as a leader of the Gurnee Park District, some of the changes need to start with me. And there is not an easy fix or an easy answer. If there is, it would have been done by now. So it takes time and effort, right? So I'm having more open conversations with people within and also outside of the Gurnee Park District, educating myself as a first step. And I also believe that we need to educate our teams on the topic of social justice. And ever since I joined the park and recreation industry, this is 23 years ago, and I have always felt that the professionals in this field are the most accommodating and compassionate groups of people. And oftentimes a lack of awareness of how racially divided our country is and how we got here is the missing piece. And I think more education needs to happen in that area, and that will lead to more resolutions. And I don't think just filling many jobs with people from different cultural background itself is going to solve the bigger problem. I think it needs to be much more than that. And it has to be figured out as a team, and it has to be fitting to the individual communities that we actually serve. So we at the Gurnee Park District, I would say, is very accommodating and inviting to people of all different backgrounds, whether it is at a participant level or at an employee level. The fact that I, as an immigrant from India, is at the helm of this organization speaks volumes of the organization itself. While 70% of our community is predominantly, it's a predominantly white community. So, but the question is that enough? And I believe we need to be more intentional. And that's what we plan to strive as we move into the future.
You know, Susie, I'm so glad you addressed this, because I wanted to point out you did come from such a high pressure of business. And you and I've had this discussion about how you came into our Parks and Rec field, and thank goodness you did. But I'm telling you, you're on top of this. You've brought up some very good points. We have to get better in the equity, in the social justice. We have to do that. But that's okay. We're going to do it. We're going to address it, because we're taking it serious. I've heard this from over and over from directors. So thank you for bringing that forward at a high level of discussion, because that will even be more of a discussion in 2021. Randy, let's move to you.
Well, thank you, Jody. Very good comments, Becky and Susie.
Yeah.
You know, this is a issue that we continue to work at, and social equity continues to be a priority for Bismarck Parks and Recreation, and it actually ties in nicely with our core purpose statement, that is to provide affordable, accessible, and sustainable public parks and recreation opportunities in our community. We're trying more than ever to create new and interesting spaces for everyone, which means new types of recreation or new ways of designing, operating recreation. Our focus lately has been on new forms of free and open recreation that would be available to all people. That's important. And it's not only in programs, it's in facilities. A few examples lately that our focus has been on are some of the free things, like facility-wise: splash pads, obstacle courses, single track trails, fit lots. And then we have some free programs such as that we tried this year: Park Bingo, Bio Blitz program, and Terrific Turf Time. You know, these programs and facilities are for all ages and all abilities at no cost to our residents. For those programs that have a fee, we offer a scholarship program to help those in need. And we don't turn anyone away because they can't afford a fee. We feel, though, with all of this being said, it still comes down to listening to the community and the relationship with our partners, understanding where we might be able to work together on new opportunities. As our community grows, we've seen more diversity in the people that live here, and we've seen more diversity in their recreational interests. So we need to collaborate with those people, those groups, large or small, they're all important to us. To meet their recreational needs is an ongoing priority for our district. One other area that we took a step forward and worked with some multiple partners this year, we hired a local foods coordinator because of the strong interest in food production and trying to meet that need. This position works with our community markets that we have in our community. We have a farm to school program, a volunteer program that takes care of our community orchards, and we have community gardens. In addition, there are some educational components of the growing and eating produce, which is a strong interest in our community with that. We have several parks that continue to be locations for the distribution of free meals. In addition, this year we're excited, well, not this year, in 2021, we're excited we're going to be updating the ADA transition plan that we have.
All right, great timing. Oh my gosh, that's wonderful. Well, all three of you have addressed this. You already, not only, golly, this was fantastic, because you're really addressing that you're looking at yourselves, looking at discovery, where are you at? But you know what? Again, audience, think about this. These are very experienced systems. These are very experienced directors, but they are willing to go deep and look and evaluate at a very deep level. And that's what is so beautiful. So many of our audience, sometimes they don't realize that it is a continuous improvement, constantly. We hear from small departments, how do I evaluate? So thank you all. And don't be surprised if you don't get a call very quickly from some of our audience, because that's been happening to some of our panelists. And oh my gosh, here we go. We've got our audience, the engagement, and Anne-Marie, I'm handing it over to you.
All right, sounds good. So
Thank
our
you all.
poll questions, as you know, the show ideas and everything we talk about comes from you and our audience. So as we're winding up season 1, we really want to find out what you like and what you'd like to see on the show. So here is our first question. We'd like to know, what are your top 3 favorite things about Good News in Parks? Is it the variety of guests that we bring on? Is it the great ideas that are shared? The ability to earn CEU credits? The staff recognition segment? The ability to ask questions of the panel. We always like to share audience questions with our panel. The upbeat attitude of our hosts and guests. We always try to take our name seriously and smile and talk about good news. The topics that we cover on the show, or it's a great source of current news. So if you could, I see some folks voting there, go ahead and vote for the ones you like. Vote for up to 3 if you want. You don't have to vote for 3, but just go ahead and share your thoughts on this one so that we can continue to make the show relevant for you. We've got a couple more people voting. We're going to give it about 5 more seconds. Wow, the numbers just jumped. Okay, hurry up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's go ahead and end the poll and share the results with everybody. That's great. Love that you guys, the topics, no wonder you love this, they come from you. So the things that we talk about come from our audience. So we are so glad that you like that fact. We are listening to you. We want the show to be relevant. The great ideas that you get from folks is another top one. The ability to earn CEUs, the variety of guests. So gosh, guys, thanks so much. We certainly appreciate that. We have one more for you, and you might be able to guess what this next question is. It's very, very simple. For next year's show, I'd like to see Keep It the Same, or I Have an Idea. Now, if you have an idea, I could not begin to think of the ideas that you guys might have. So when you get the survey at the end of the show, please take that survey, and there's going to be a question at the end of it that says, I have an idea. Write it in there. It's an open field.
Absolutely.
We're not going to make you choose from things. We want to hear what your idea is.
That's right.
If you do have an idea, that's going to be your opportunity to express that. So we're going to give you just a couple more seconds to answer this one. All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go ahead and end the poll. Look at that. We love you guys. Okay, a lot of you want us to keep it the same, but there's some folks out there that have ideas. And again, we've gotten some really great ideas from our audience. So we cannot wait to hear what those ideas are. So when you get that survey, please let us know what they are.
That's right.
We may be following up with you for some more information, but that's absolutely great. So thank you so much for taking part in our polls today. Jody, I'm going to kick it back to you.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. I tell you, it does. This whole show comes from the field. That's all there is to it. We're not going to take credit for it. Whatever you put in there in those evaluations, we look at the research, we look what's going on out there, and this is your show. So again, question 3, panelists, here we go. Over the past 9 episodes of this show, we have addressed topics of impact with the health crisis of obviously COVID-19, but the mental health issues that are facing departments. Number 2, we've also addressed economic crisis as it relates to your department budgets and employee strife. And 3, we've addressed current equity, diversity, inclusive challenges that relate to our Parks and Rec, which again, we're gonna hit that one hard in 2021. But we have a 4th one that has been asked 2 to 3 times, and we want to address this. The 4th challenge that our audience has brought forward to us is asking us to address is to given the high level of usage on your park systems, and you've already a little bit addressed this throughout our country, How are you all dealing with adjusting your maintenance upkeep, ensuring conservation and environmental practices that are on your operational plans are being followed? And this is a tough one. It's very deep and it's very involved, but you three are the ones that can answer this. I know you can. So Susie, we're going to start with you.
Thank you, Jody. I think, one thing that we have done is we have done a master plan, and it's about 9 years ago that we did that. And even before that, we had another master plan every 10 years that we updated. So a lot of the needs of the park system and the environmental needs are all kind of lumped into that master plan when we do that. And we follow that very carefully too. Strategic plans and master plans are very carefully followed in our park district. So overall, when we look at our community, we have a good amount of open space available, trail system, parks within close reach for most of the residents. And as we were going through this pandemic, one thing that we really looked at is we weren't going to change the parks department at all in terms of cutting staff or cutting expenses. We made sure that that's the jewel that needs to shine this year, especially in 2020, because that's mostly what people have, right?
Right.
So we made sure that, we planted flowers just like we would any other year. We made it look beautiful. We attended to the trails even more, and we attended to we cut the grass just like we normally do, and we kept the parks really looking beautiful and accessible to people. It was much more used. I mean, our park system get used a lot as it is, but it was more used this year because people need something to do. People needed a place to go as family, and they chose to come to our parks, and we take that very seriously. And we made sure that we did everything top notch, more inspections, more garbage removal, more maintenance, and made sure that everything was kept very well and tidy for our residents to use throughout this whole time, as we have done in the past also. Looking ahead, we are, as an organization, work very hard to keep ourselves in a good financial position, even way before the pandemic. And that really helped us get through this difficult time, and also to upkeep and maintain our infrastructure as we look ahead. So one of our strategic initiative is to always be financially sustainable. So that strength that we built up over the years have paid off during this time. And I am really happy to say that even as we look into the future, we have a 5-year capital plan in place, and we will be able to manage that capital plan without having to cut any of the improvements that we need to make to our infrastructure. We take our infrastructure extremely seriously and want to make sure that we offer the best parks and facilities for our community, and we are able to do that because we make that a priority in our long range plans and also in our short-term plans.
Susie, stay to the plan and be consistent. Loud and clear. Way to go. Randy, let's turn to you. You're next.
Okay, thank you. We've adjusted our maintenance practices to implement increased cleaning during this pandemic as per CDC guidelines. A couple other things we've done, we've worked with our partners to develop smart start plans for our programs, our special events, and our facilities. We own and manage just under 3,500 acres of public park land, with some of the land identified as conservation areas that will remain undeveloped. We're currently working with Audubon Dakota and Ducks Unlimited, a couple conservation groups, to incorporate natural maintenance and education components in a few of the properties that we have. We continue to work with our partners to provide more nature-based opportunities. For example, pollinator gardens, native plantings, arboretums, those are things that we are focusing on. We've started to expand, our use of biological controls in sensitive areas when it comes to noxious weed control. This summer, we redid a parking lot in a sovereign lands area that included a stormwater system that for a rainwater garden. In addition, we expanded one of our largest sports complexes that had an irrigation system. It was converted from city irrigation water to irrigating with river water that is better for the turf. It saves us, our budget, thousands of dollars, and it conserves city water. So it was really a win-win for all of us. And this project involved multiple partners from the private and public sectors.
You know, man, Randy, I love this with the parking lot. And that is so ingenious to have that, where that actually works into helping other parts of your, your biological system there. Oh my God, that's great. Glad to hear about that. Is that in a high traffic park, or is that in a smaller park? How big is that parking lot?
It's in, we just redid the lot. It's about 200 spaces.
Wow.
Parking spaces. It's busy in the summer season, adult volleyball, use of the river, those types of things. It's a busy spot in the summer season.
Well, stay tuned, everybody, because this is a very interesting resource that Randy's trying on. So great news. Thank you for sharing that. And Becky, let's finish up on this question with you.
Okay, well, thanks. Well, as I mentioned, we are actually a conservation agency, so we have a lot of focus on land preservation and protecting wildlife habitat. And we have a natural resources plan, among other plans, that again, following the guide of the plan and adapting. And some of the changes that we did to help protect our parks, because again, like everyone else, high usage has continued. And for example, our creative staff, we have some trails that are heavily used in some very compressed areas, and trying to social distance in those areas and still keep them open safely had been a challenge. So we converted several in the various locations, some of our trails or maintenance roads that we had, into one-way trails. So you go in one way, instead of coming back out, you go
Smart.
up a maintenance trail that happens to be, not far away from where you went in, to get you back to where you started. And that's helped with people even stepping off when someone passes you, having a little space so you're not damaging sensitive plants or habitats. So really paying attention to the traffic, the foot traffic, or the usage of our trail system to make sure we're still protecting those sensitive areas. The other thing that couple other things we've done is, as depending on where we were on our stay-at-home orders or advisories, some of our staffs were redeployed, as I'll say, into areas such as we used programming staff, even though they were doing virtual programming. We put them out into parks, and they were park ambassadors in a safe manner, trying to kind of watch the use of our locations to see, do we have any hot spots where maybe we need to put some attention there on usage, for example, or were signs down that we put out to protect sensitive areas or inform people about staying 6 feet apart. The other thing, our community here over the last couple of years, when I say community, I say our county, in 2019, we had, I believe it was 13 tornadoes come through overnight in a swath of land in Dayton and other communities. And so we have a lot of trees in this area, as many people do, especially in the rural areas, but in the urban areas too. And we lost a lot of old growth trees. We lost trees, businesses, citizens lost their trees. So engaging the community and helping you to restore. And so even though we had challenges with being social distance and not having, we have a very strong volunteer program, and we have very strong relationships with the communities that we have parks in. We actually had nuts collected from certain kinds of trees. We grew them, our staff grew them to seedlings over about a year's time. And this past fall, we actually distributed again through pickup. Again, you could sign up for a certain number of trees as a citizen and do a drive-through pickup for your tree seedlings with instructions on how to plant your tree seedlings. We also gave them to communities that were very hard hit by the tornadoes. And though these seedlings will take hundreds of years to get to, in some cases, to the level that the ones that we lost did, that empowerment into the community to put those trees back, start those trees, and also become advocates for protecting those areas. So in safe ways, trying to be able, it was called Healing Nature, because we lost all of those trees and damaged many homes in our area. So it was kind of like a healing for nature, but healing for people also. So, you know, those are some of the things that we're trying to do to make sure not only are we caring for those areas and taking care of them, but that we provide opportunities for people to really get engaged and feel part of the process to help us protect those areas and take care of them.
One thing I've noticed over the years, Becky, with your system is your communication with your public. I mean, I've watched you operate not only through your master plans, but with your tax referendums or anything like that. It's definitely the people's parks. I mean, that's all there is to it. You're there to administer, but it's really the people's parks. Yeah, and all three of you enlighten that. It's just amazing to hear your passion about making sure it's right what the public wants, because it is their park system. So way to go, you guys. And this is why we go to this section. This next is one of our favorites. And Anne-Marie, take it away from the heart.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We love this segment of the show. It's called Good News in Parks, about great people. And as you've been hearing today, there are some amazing things that are going on in parks. And obviously we can't do anything alone. So we love this because we like to give each of our panelists the opportunity to recognize a person or a team within their department for the work they're doing. So let's kick it off. Randy, we're going to start with you.
Hey, thank you. We included a picture of our team, our staff, our commissioners, because we use a team approach. I'm so proud of our team. They've gone above and beyond all year and continue to do so, working with the community and all of our partners to fulfill our vision, our mission, our core values, and our core purpose. We've identified over 250 partner groups that we collaborate with. Oftentimes, I remind staff and myself of an African proverb: if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Love that.
Wow.
Absolutely love that. That's awesome. What a great looking team, Randy. Thank you for sharing that. Becky, let's go to you.
Sure. And again, I do have some photos of staff in here that represent various areas of our organization. I mentioned it earlier. One of the cracks in the community that we knew what existed, but was even more amplified with COVID, is food insecurity. And so we have a variety of different types of gardening programs, whether it's a community garden, whether it's sustainable demonstration gardens, or whether we're doing the garden kits, as we mentioned. But this one, even though we have staff assigned to instruction on how to grow your gardens, we have a garden to grow food program. And this particular program engaged partners in the community, new partners that we hadn't been aware of before, who deal with food insecurity issues. But the enthusiasm and the impact that this has had and will continue to have, it's changing how probably we will move forward with our gardening programs, to be, again, a problem solver at the table, trying to figure out how do we address this issue collectively. So over the summer, our program, other than just doing demonstration gardens and doing instructional programs, we actually grew the food that we grew and gave away to food banks and to citizens just about 7,000 pounds of
Oh
fresh
my
produce. And the staff you see in these photos are the reason we were behind that. We worked with our food bank. We worked with other organizations addressing this food insecurity issue, and to talk about a feeling of the heart, you know, in terms of folks who genuinely don't have access to fresh food. And this was an opportunity to kind of pivot a little bit about how we actually provide our programming and really broaden the way that we can teach people about food, but also provide it in times of need. So I'm so proud of our entire organization, because it really took people volunteering their own time from their other jobs within the organization to help make this happen.
I love that. And I mean, what a great team, and what a great program. That is just amazing. I just think, like, if we could do that everywhere, what a difference we could make. And you're so right about the fresh food. I mean, I work with a local food bank, and, you know, there's a fair amount of canned food, but it's not, I mean, you can't subsist on just canned food, and that access to having fresh food is so important. And that's just amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. All right, Susie, let's go to you. Great picture here.
Yeah.
As I appreciate and love everyone who works at the Gurnee Park District, I felt it was important for me to highlight my core team, my administrative team. So I definitely want to give a shout out to this group. From the top left, we have Craig Owens. He is actually the incoming new Director of Parks and Planning. He was previously the safety supervisor here at the Gurnee Park District, so he's no stranger to coming into the new role. And Jeff Reinhardt, who is in the bottom middle, is retiring after 30 years of exceptional service as Director of Parks and Planning. So Craig is taking over for Jeff. And then Jennifer Gilbert, who is in the top middle, she's the Director of Marketing and Public Relations, and she's been with the Park District for over 10 years. And do an outstanding job, needless to say. And Mike Spillman, who is the Director of Business Services, he's on the bottom left. And he's also been with the Gurnee Park District for over 10 years. And Mike Wick, who's the one on the bottom right, he's our Director of Recreation. He's been with the district for over 2 years. And I feel these are all department heads, and they're part of the core team. And I have always felt really blessed to work with them. They're a lot of fun. I mean, you can see them on the screen, Zoom screen here. They take it seriously. Spillman even put on a tie here for a Zoom call. So that means that we take this seriously. So we're a good team. We have a lot of fun together. And like I said, I have always felt blessed to work with them. Each one of them is very committed to their job, and they're extremely good at it. Yet this year, during this pandemic, I developed an even more appreciation for this team, because as we were trying to figure out how to run this organization in the midst of nothing but uncertainty, and they came together, and together we were able to move the agency forward in the most effective manner. As a park district and as in Illinois, heavily dependent on program fees in order to sustain our agencies. So more than 50%, 55% of our operations comes from fees and charges. So it's kind of like running a business in a sense. So it takes a lot of time and effort and a lot of thinking through. And this team does an amazing job of leading the organization. So if I'm ever in a situation such as this pandemic or any other crisis, I wouldn't want to go through it with anyone but these folks. And I have the utmost respect and love for this team, and I wanted to highlight them all.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much. And Jeff, congratulations to you on your retirement, and what a wonderful long career and service to the industry. So that's absolutely great. All right, I did find out that we had a little bit of a technical glitch on our first question. Apparently, a lot of people were only able to vote for one thing instead of three. So what we're going to ask you to do is, when we get to that point where we send you the survey, if you could indicate on the survey if there are other favorite things you have about the show, just please write those in. We would greatly appreciate that. Let's go ahead and start with taking a question from our audience. And we have one here from Patricia, who wants to know if any of your parks and facilities have regulations or allow service dogs, and how, if yes, are they accepted by other attendees to the park?
Anybody want to answer that?
I'll try to answer that one.
Okay.
We also have, over the years, we developed our ADA plan, transition plan, and we actually have an ADA coordinator who, if there's a question that comes up about access, and again, most of our facilities are outdoors, we have a few, but we really do try to work with, if we get a request, or if we have several parks where just dogs in general, because of gardens and things like that, aren't permitted. But in terms of service dogs, we really do try to accommodate what we can, and make sure if there's questions or any additional understanding on our part or on the request that we get, that we have a person that they can go to, the public, to be able to address their questions, or to be able to make sure we're meeting their needs.
Great.
I would just add that, we allow service animals, and we do our very best to train our staff and make them aware of the regulations and how those requests should be handled. But one thing we stress is if there's ever a doubt, allow them to use the park until we can do additional research and find the correct answer.
Oh, that's a really good way to approach it.
Anne Marie, I'd like to give a little input on this one, because this one's kind of tough out there, with our system here in Springfield, Greene County. I can tell you, we allow service dogs, obviously, but other dogs are allowed if they're on a leash within the system. One thing where you'll run into it, and we have run a zoo, exotic animals, and we run into it with domestic animals at a farm park. But we still allow those animals as long as they're on the leash. But here's the kicker, is when you're in food areas, that can be where it can be sensitive. And that's where the USDA may come in and give you certain regulations. So I just throw that out there for everyone, because that can be usually the adjustment area. So anyway, I just wanted to give a little input there.
That sounds great.
And my situation is similar to both what Randy and Becky said. We do have a policy on it, and it's based on the ADA guidelines that are out there, but we do handle it on a case-by-case basis, though. We just want to make sure that it's reasonable accommodation and it doesn't create a big chaos in the, wherever that is. And I know that there are times that we have made that accommodation. So it is not a straight up no by any means, but we definitely evaluate a case-by-case basis.
Right.
Excellent.
Absolutely. Yeah, that makes sense. The good thing about service dogs is they're usually always trained for the job.
Yes.
And so they're well, it's not like a crazy puppy on the loose or something like that. I know one thing that I had to learn about them is, unless it's invited, you're not supposed to pet them. And that's really hard for me, because I'm a major dog lover. I want to run right up and pet the dogs. All right, let's take a quick break. We have something sort of fun to share with you this time, which is a little bit different. But as I mentioned before, we got a thank you from a very well-known mayor who we found out was a big fan of the show. So we are going to play this for you.
Jeez Louise, how do I turn this gosh darn thing on? Gail, sweetie, would you help me with, I've been trying to do a video and I can't figure out how to turn it on. Oh, well, sweetie, there's good news in parks. Yeah. Game time, yeah, and play court. They're just doing amazing. Yes, during all the craziness, they're just, and it's just good news what's happening in the world of the parks. And I want to, just tell them great job, all that good stuff. And I can't figure out how to turn it on. It's on. Oh, geez, Louise, Gail, it is on. Oh, how embarrassing this all is. 3, 2, 1. Hello, game time. Hello, play core. This is Mayor Gary Gergich from Pawnee, Indiana. Though some people call me Jerry or Larry or Terry and even Barry on the Johnny Karate. Time. Gail, I goofed up. 3, 2, 1. Hello, again, Game Time and Play Court. This is Mayor Gary Gergich from the beautiful, beautiful, beautiful town of Pawnee in Indiana. And as the mayor, I wanted to congratulate, oh, geez, hold on, what? 3, 2, 1. Hello again, Game Time and Play Court. Mayor Gary Gergich here. Just also want to tell you that my beautiful wife Gail and our girls want to congratulate you because you guys have just done such a great job keeping everything happening during the COVID. Yes, oh, the COVID. Yeah, it's not so great. Anyway, and I know you're wrapping up the first season, and just want to give you a shout out and tell you that, I mean, it's just, well, you're the reason for the success. You guys are such a big part of it, and everyone is so happy with what's happened. And anyway, you should be really proud of yourselves. Yeah. So again, Mayor Gary Gergich from Pawnee, Indiana, saying to you, congrats. Take care. Be safe out there. Bye. Oh, Gail, I goofed that one up. Yeah, she'll have to edit all this. Oh boy, yeah, I am gassy though. Mm-hmm.
A little silly
Oh my God.
that we usually do, but Jim, of course, plays Mayor Gergich on Park and Recreation, and we are humbled to say he's actually a big fan of our show. So
Yes.
that was a lot of fun, and thanks to Kent on our team for facilitating that and making that happen. That was great. So we are already hard at work on season 2. We want to share a quick preview with that as well, so that you can see what's coming up, and we have some really great things coming up on season 2. Let me get to that screen here. Hang on just a second. There we go. Can you see that? Okay, great. So we've got some guests for you already, and there is that address. You know, we're going to have all kinds of new features and adventures. I know that you guys love the Good News Cup, the mug. Julie,
Yes.
mug handy. Can you hold your mug up? A lot of you have written in to see where you can actually buy the mug. So we're going to have some fun ways to earn the mug next year. And here's the first one for you, actually. So if you are either the 50th or the 200th person to sign up for every episode of the show, we're going to send you a cup. So there's the address. We made it really easy, playcore.com/season2. Go there and sign up. Also, to everyone in the audience, we want to say thank you, thank you, thank you for watching, participating, sending your comments. Most of all, we recognize how fortunate we are to have such a caring and professional and incredible group of people out there promoting health and equity in everything that you do for our community. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts to our panels and to our guests and everybody. Thank you to my incredible co-host, Jody, for continuing to inspire us with your knowledge and these amazing panels you put together. You are a rock star, and I am humbled to do this show with you. Thanks for our panelists, for your enthusiasm, time, your knowledge, your dedication, your motivation, your willingness to share with everybody. You make the show what it is, and your leadership ensures that we all have parks to nourish our minds and our bodies and our spirits. And we are humbled by everything that you do. So thank you so much. Sign up for season 2. We can't wait. Jody, take us out with some final thoughts.
Well, I can just tell you, even Randy hit it on. We go so far together. And, you know, I'll tell you, you guys, thank you so much from the heart. You know how I feel about you. You're great friends, but you're the leaders. And we look up to you so much. And thank you for being on from the heart. And we need you, and keep doing what you're doing, which is fantastic. And guess what? Happy holidays to everybody. And Anne-Marie wouldn't want to do this with anybody else. Great job this year. And we are ready for 20 and 21. Let's go for it.
Let's go for it. I got to tell you, we've been getting some, I might be tearing up just a little. It's like, what's that joke? I'm not crying, you're crying. We have gotten some really cool. Stephanie says, great news. Good news in parks has been a bright spot in the pandemic. Thank you to everybody. Rachel says, so excited. Can't wait to hear from Dr. Nunes. I can't either. I can't wait to hear him. And Stephanie says, oh my gosh, I love this. Dan says, what a great show. Best stars in the world from our park and recreation programs. Thank you. Thank you guys. Seriously.
It's you guys.
It's
about us.
It is you guys. And we will be here next year in January. Please don't forget to join us. Go and sign up. Win a mug. You can tell your board to the mug, and then you can bring your mug. Maybe we'll bring you on the show live to show your mug. Anyway, thank you again. Happy holidays to everybody, and we'll see you next year.
Thanks for having us.
Have
Thank
a
you.
great
Thank you.
Thank
Happy
you.
holidays.
Happy holidays.